this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing another virtual crop sketch in my Ireland scrapbook, and I'm really excited about this one. I think it's going to turn out really nice. Let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, here is my workspace for today, and we're continuing, as I mentioned, our visit to the Rock of Cashel in Tipperary, County Tipperary in Ireland. We're going to be doing sketch number 4 from the August virtual crop. Look at that, I've kind of caught up. I'm actually doing these during the month of August. Imagine. We're going to do sketch number 4 today, and this one looks like it's going to go together fairly easily. I'm hopeful, anyway, that that's the case. And I have a lot of history to share with you today, so when we get to that point, I hope that you won't mind, but I have actually verified some of the things that my brain thought it knew from listening to the tour guide. And I've looked it up kind of on Google, because, you know, Google is all of our brains now, just to make sure that I'm not sharing the wrong information with you, because I would hate to do that. And my brain, you know, was absorbing a lot over there, and even on the best day, I sometimes mix things up. So anyway, just to go through the other supplies I have out here. We have permanent and repositionable adhesive. We're going to use both of those today for what we're doing. And I have 4 pieces of paper. I have a piece of Cool Gray Cardstock. I have 2 pieces of paper that are from the, oh gosh, the paper pack I was using last time. And Rustic Manor. This is from Rustic Manor. This was from 2019, and it has wood on the back, but we're going to use the moss side today, and you'll know why when you see the photos. And then we're also going to use this piece of paper, which is from Reminisce, and because I love the rock, and because the rock is very reminiscent of the pictures that are going to go on this page. So we're going to use this sheet as kind of an accent paper. And this is, I believe this is Killarney National Park on the back side. Let's see. Yeah, Killarney National Park. So you can see how beautiful that is. We actually did go to Killarney National Park, so you'll get to see some wonderful photos when we get that far in this scrapbook. But for now, we are still at the Rock of Cashel, and we have lots more to do here. So let's get started. I'm going to place my sketch up here. Oh, almost forgot. I have this punch out. This is an older punch. If you don't have this one in your arsenal, I'm not sure what I would recommend, but you certainly could cut some small strips that are about those are almost a ½ inch wide, and then just make some bricks. That would probably do the same, make the same effect as what we're going to do today. But this is the building bricks punch, decorative punch, and we're going to use that when we get that far. We're going to make a couple of basic cuts. Oh, did you get your new trimmer? If you don't have this new trimmer, I'm told you won't be able to live without it. I have never, you may have noticed, I've never used a photo trimmer. And I've had people, those of you who watch my channel, I've had you ask me in the past why I haven't used one of these. And it's mostly because I learned to scrapbook in a very frugal situation. We had a really tight budget. And this is long before the fantastic 12-inch trimmer that we use now. But I just used another brand trimmer, whatever I could use, and I made it work for everything that I cut for my scrapbook. So I I felt like I learned how to use, or I learned how to cut everything on a larger trimmer, so I was very comfortable just using my 12-inch trimmer to cut everything. And if you are on a budget, I still stand by the fact that you can use the 12-inch trimmer for everything. However, I have recently learned that there is a film on our photos that when we cut with the blade on this trimmer, that added sort of plasticky film that we have on our photos can dull this blade quicker. And so I thought I would try it. This is our brand new guillotine trimmer. You can see this. It's got all kinds of fantastic features. It has all the same markings as our 12-inch trimmer. You can see that on here. Our same grid system. It will cut up to 6.5 inches wide just on its own, but then you can open this handy little arm and you can cut up to 10.5 inches. So you can do your mats for your 8x10 photos. You can do cards without having to put the arm out because it is a full 9 inches from this shoulder to this shoulder. Very, very cool. And as if that wasn't cool enough, because it's extremely sharp and has this wonderful little holder right here that keeps your paper right where you put it so that the guillotine arm cuts it straight every time. If you flip it over, it also has storage for all of your scissors. So your standard CM scissors, which is what these are, those are my Alzheimer's ones, and also your precision point scissors. They snap right in and they hold super tight. You can see they're not, you know, shaking around at all. They are super tight in there and available anytime you need them. And so I'm trying it. And I encourage you to do the same, and I will, you know, report back. We'll talk more about it in the future. But anyway, that's what I'm going to try to use whenever I need to cut a photo from now on, just so that I can honestly get an idea whether I like it or not. All right? Okay, so we're going to cut paper. So we're going to use our 12-inch trimmer to cut our paper. And I'm going to use this, and by the way, if you hear, you know, knocking or pinging in the background, it's because we're having a thunderstorm outside, just because I'm recording. I finally got to this today, and we're having hail. Because that's what August is about, right? So if you hear something in the background, that is what's going on. We got hail coming in. All right, so I just cut that 12 by 12 inch square vertically down the center. So I have now two 6 by 12 pieces, and those are going to be my outside pieces for the layout that we're going to do. So this piece and this piece, the big pieces that go on the bottom. All right, and I'm going to leave the other 6 by 12 portions here. Those are just going to be a naked page except for the elements I'm going to add to them. So we're not going to worry about that too terribly much. The rest of what we're going to work on here is, and let me just check my notes that I made here. I need to cut the cardstock, and we need to cut the cardstock to fit this punched space. So let's measure that. I'm just going to place it right here on my trimmer to get a sense of how wide the punched area is going to be. Okay, so starting here at this line, I've got 1 inch, it looks like 1 3/8 would be sufficient. So I'm going to do 1 3/8, although my the sketch actually indicates we should cut it at 1 1/2. So maybe we should cut it at 1 1/2. I'd rather have it too wide than not wide enough. So we're going to cut 2 pieces at 1.5 inches. All right. And then I'm going to set the gray cardstock to the side. We are going to make some mats for a couple of photos, and I'm going to wait and do that until we get to the picture portion. So that's going to be one of these. But we are going to punch 2 rows using this other sheet. So let me move my trimmer out of the way and bring this punch back in. We're just going to punch 2 rows of bricks. And you might be saying to yourself, well, that's weird. Why are you punching bricks out of moss? Well, that's because, as you can see, when the punched portion comes out, the moss is actually between the bricks, which is that's the effect that I want. I want to be able to see the moss between the bricks. So, and this punch is a little bit tricky because it looks so exactly the same. So they gave us these little notches. I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's a little notch every couple of inches, and the notch lines up here on our wing, and that helps us when we scoot forward to know where we are. We can match the notch up and then know that that's the right place to stop so that we can punch again. All right, so there's that one. We're going to do another one. I'm going to actually turn this around so that I can have a straight edge on the top. So while I'm just punching the rest of this, I can just tell you a little bit about the Rock of Cashel. The Rock of Cashel dates back to the 12th century. So when I mentioned the other day that we were going to be visiting a significant historical monument, I wasn't kidding. This is old. I don't know how else to explain it, but it truly is quite old. And as a result of it being so old, you can imagine it has quite a storied past, which I think was the part that I found the most intriguing as the tour guide led us through and taught us some things. If you get the opportunity to go there, it's amazing, quite remarkable, and we learned so much that we couldn't retain it all, which is why I had to try to look it up. All right, I'm just using my repositionable adhesive on the back. I'm not putting it all over the whole thing, but I am putting it in segments and trying to get as much of the different portions of it put down. We are going to cut these in half. Okay, so I can put this centered. Remember how I measured it and I said it was 1 3/8, but we cut these at 1.5. We can put it in the center and have just a little bit of the gray showing on either side of it, which is I think what I'm going to opt to do. Or we could have just trimmed each one of these down a little bit. Either way, I think it would look really fine, just fine, either way. So, but it's just as easy for me to go ahead and just center it. So that's what I'm going to do on that one. Didn't use a mat, so I have adhesive on my workspace. All right, I should pull out my mat. I'm lazy. All right. Anyway, so due to its age, much of what is there is just stone. There is a little bit of it that is not stone, and you'll see those photos in the next layout, not this one today. It was the original home to several kings of Munster. So that, just that alone, if you know anything about your history, dates it. And the structure that it's still there is breathtaking. So, okay, now we're going to grab our trimmer one more time, and we're going to take both of these. I'm going to stack them on top of each other. We're going to cut them in half. So, because my little cheater piece that I normally have up here is still not there, I'll replace it one of these days, and you'll be shocked. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut this at 6 inches, and I'm measuring it to be sure so that it's nice and even. So now we have 4 pieces of bricks. All right, let's get a little bit of this put together here. Woo. Okay, so this is our walk up to the castle. You can see it's fairly steep behind us, and my daughter and my mom were walking up the nice asphalt driveway. I mean, it's not like they just left it super primitive, but once you get past the gate and onto the grounds, it's very primitive looking, and due to its age, it's just been quite worn down. All right, how did this go? I want to put it kind of so that it works. There we go. This one will go on the other side. Okay, so we're going to put these bricks, I'm calling them bricks because they look like bricks to me, rock walls. This rock wall is going to go on the outside edge, right up against the jeeping, that raised edge that goes up the outside of the page. And you can see it's just a little short. That's a natural variance when you're dealing with printed pages. So it is just the way it is. Nothing we can do about it. All right, then we're going to take, oh, you know what? I should have done another one of these. How many of you were screaming that I should have done another one of these? I don't know what was wrong with me, why I didn't think of that before. Let's just do that really quick. All right, now we have, so you need 3 punched strips and 3 strips that are 1.5 inches in order to do what we need to do for our sketch. So I apologize for that. I just didn't notice when I went to do it for the video. All right, so we're going to use 3 on each side. So I've got those 3 there, and these 3 we'll use on that side. All right, and we're going to put 1 across the top, 1 across the bottom, and 1 across the middle in the center. So we're going to use our grid on our workspace. Hopefully you have a grid on your workspace. If you don't, then I would highly recommend you get one. Creative Memories has a 13 by 13 mat, which is amazing and awesome. It's a self-healing mat, so you can use it with your custom cutting system. And it has all kinds of angles and stuff marked on it. It's lovely. I have that, and that's what, when I travel, that's what I take with me. because I scrapbook when I travel. I know, crazy, but my husband thinks I'm a little nuts. But, you know, he loves me. So, I guess that makes him a little nuts too. Okay, so I am just putting this about 3/8 of an inch from the edge here, and the same up here on the top, about 3/8 of an inch from the top. And then this one over here is going to be right in the middle, so I'm going to measure to make sure I'm putting it right in the middle. So that my photos look appropriately balanced when I go to put them on, because they're going to go right in the middle of the two sides. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means this line here is the middle of my page, and I am just going to take a look at that and eyeball it. But I have this handy little notch here that is also in the middle of my border, and so I can just center that, right? And then it should meet, and it does pretty well, but I think I'm going to adjust this just a little bit, and rather than having it go all the way to the jeeping, I want it to meet the paper in the center. So I'm just going to move it over just the slightest bit, because we won't notice it necessarily here on the edge, but we will notice a gap here in the middle. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to lay out these photos, and we're going to come back and mat them, so don't get too excited. They're not going to get glued down just yet. My cute little 19-year-old being sassy, she decided to pose on that bench. Silly girl. All right, and this is my cousin, who you'll recognize from other layouts that we've done, and Emily, of course, and my sweet husband. Okay, so I need, this is a full 6 inches. These are 3x4 photos that I trimmed so that I could get more pictures on this page. This picture down here is not a 4x6. This is a 4x5. So the mat I need for that one is going to be a different size, but they're all going to be 4 inches. Well, the mats are going to be for a 4-inch wide photo. So we're going to make the mats 4 1/4. I don't want to make them huge. And I'm just trimming off those notches from where we punched. So give me just a second here. Those little itty bitty tiny notches. They're not much, but they won't make for a nice smooth line either. So, all right. So we're going to do a 4 1/4 inch mat. Four 1/4 by 5 1/4 for this one. So that's this picture right here. Okay, this picture is also a, nope, this one is 5 1/2. Whew, just because, just to make life interesting. So we're just going to put a 1/4 inch frame on this one also. 1/4 inch mat. Put that there. This one up here is going to need a special mat because it's wider, so we're still going to do 4 1/4. but it's going to need a 6 1/4 inch mat. So we're going to do 6 1/4. So that's the mat for those two. All right, let me set this aside and grab the other page. One second, I'm having to find space. Oh, the other thing about this trimmer is I just had to lift it up and turn it around. It nests with your 12-inch trimmer perfectly, just like that. It holds this on one side or the other, and though it has grabby feet on the bottom so it doesn't slip and slide on the top. It's just fantastic. I can't sing its praises for cutting just yet because I haven't really learned the praises to give it, but I really like the way they constructed it. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll get this one put together, and then we'll talk about the pictures that are on here. Okay, so this one's going to go. So this is my dilemma. I want to make sure that the plants are growing in the right direction. So it's going to go over here on this side. And again, we have that weird variance, so I can see a little dot of color in places where I wouldn't necessarily want a dot of color. But it is what it is. All right, so again, this is going to go 3/8 of an inch from the edge and right up against the jeeping. Same thing for this one. I think the hail stopped. I like it when it rains, don't get me wrong. I love it, especially in the summertime, because we live in the high desert and it definitely gets hot. Hot and dry. So it's so nice when it rains and we get a little bit of a reprieve. My garden loves it. All right. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this 15-inch mark is my middle ground. And just to be same old, I'm flipping this around so that that notch that's on the other side is also on this side. Oops. And see, it's still not meeting, and you'd think I would have figured that out from last time. Hold on, my page shifted. All right. There we go. Okay, so there's my right side of the layout. Let's get these photos put on here so that we can figure out what we are matting. And my photos for this are going to be a little bit different than the sketch. Shock, I know, you're in shock. So I've got a peekaboo pocket with a couple of extra photos that I just didn't want to have to do another layout for. I've got a map of the Rock of Cashel. This is the little road that you walk up to come into the gate to get in onto the grounds. And then this is where the High Cross replica is, which I'll show you a photo of here in just a second. You enter the chapel from either side here. And then there is another, all of this is open. You can walk all through all of this, and you can walk all the way around it. Over here, these buildings are what they call the Vicar's Corral, and they are where the clergy lived. And there's this end down here is a very large open room, like a meeting room. And this is much more modern looking than this. So I don't know when this was built. I could probably find out if I read more about it, but I know that this was built a little bit later than all of this. In fact, down here in the key, it says what's in yellow is 12th century. So Cormac's Chapel that's back here and the round tower that's on this side were built in the 12th century. The blue portion was built in the 13th century, and the red portion, which is this tower here, and the Vicar's Corral, I think is how you say that, over here, was built in the 15th century. So there is a cemetery that surrounds this side of the Rock of Cashel, and until fairly recently there was a very famous cross that was right here on the corner, and I'll get there in just a second. Hang tight. I will show you a more up-to-date photo of that. We're going to trim this photo. This is a photo of the far side, so it's over here and looking out on the valley. I'm going to use my new photo trimmer to trim my photo. I've got a full-size photo down here on the bottom that I want to be able to still see a little bit of that border that's underneath it. And this peekaboo pocket will go on top. So like that. Then this is going to go up here on the top and be over the border that we created. And this photo is going to go in between. So I want to trim this so that I can possibly mat it. So it looks like I will probably need to trim it right about there. Let's see what that is. It looks like it's roughly an inch off. So I'm going to slide this under. We're just going to trim it at 3 inches. And I think that that will be good because I want to be able to put a little bit of a mat around it. Did you hear that sound? I was telling my friend the other day that part of the reason why I think this trimmer is so popular is the cathartic sound that it makes. Because it's kind of amazing. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, I'm going to cut this at 5.5. I'm just trimming off the edge. And it's noteworthy to mention, if you are using a guillotine trimmer or one of the CM trimmers, you need to press down on this little guard that's right here. Of course, keep your fingers free from underneath where the blade comes through, but this is going to stabilize your photo or your paper or whatever you're trying to trim and keep it from shifting on you. So you need to make sure you put your fingers on that and keep it still. All right, so knowing that that is 3 by 5.5, this is sufficiently long, so I need to make this piece 3¼ kind of push down on my guard. It's going to help me keep my fingers out of the way of this blade, which I have learned and other advisors have learned is extremely sharp, so you don't want to hurt yourself on that. All right, so we've got that one there. These two, let's measure these really quick because these are, I'm going to lower this just so I have something to buff it up against. This is a 4 by 4½, and I believe the one on top is also the same. Let's see, 4 by 4½, yep. All right, so that means that I need to use this trimmer. This is going to take some getting used to, the flipping back and forth. 4¼ I do love the sound that the guillotine trimmer makes, though. There's just something about it. Okay, so 4 by 4½. So I'm making this 4¼ by 4¾ I'm going to do another one that's 4¾ All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and get these photos mounted, and then we'll talk about some more of the history that is on these pages. All right, so all of those are now down. Let's talk about them for just a second here. We already kind of talked about this page. Let's talk about this page. So as you are standing here at the kind of the entrance or the start of the tour, certainly at this high cross replica that stands right here, you can see the stairs right here that my son is sitting on. And this huge chunk that they left sitting here in the grass actually fell off of the building. I think it was right up in this neighborhood, somewhere up here, fell down, and they left it there, right where it fell. So you can actually see how thick the walls are, because you have a great example right there. As you travel around the edge of the building, the edge of the chapel, you can see all this cemetery over here. And obviously these look ancient. These grave markers have obviously been there forever. There's all kinds of lichen and things growing on them. They've been there for ages and ages. And then you come to this one with its pristine gravel and a really nice wooden frame around it and a very modern looking marker. And your mind obviously says to yourself, wait a minute, what's going on here, right? Well, actually, it turns out that if your name was listed, I believe this is the way it works. If your name is listed as being a resident of Cashel before 1930, and your name is on this special list, you can be buried here amongst royalty. And only if your name is on that list. And it actually turned out that while we were visiting, they were preparing to have a funeral that afternoon. And there's a picture in the next layout, I think it is, or one of the ones coming up for certain, of the hearse that drove in while we were there. So just kind of a really unique situation. You have to be very, very special and have your name in all the right places in order to be buried here. But it's one of the most renowned spots in all of Ireland. So certainly worthwhile if you are the fortunate one and able to do that. This is the walking up area, the gate that you walk through to come and pay your entrance fee and then walk up and around to that area up there. This right here, if you can see that without the glare from the peekaboo pocket, this is a replica of a very special cross. It is the replica of the High Cross, and until recently it was the original that was there, but someone somewhere along the line said, hey, we probably should get that and preserve it and get it out of the elements, and so that it doesn't continue to wear down, because as you can see, it's quite worn. This is an actual stone replica. They took molds and did all that and aged it so that it looks exactly like the original, but it is not the original. And there's more to that story of that cross, which we will get to in another layout down the road. But this is a view from the front, from this area out here. If you're looking back this way, this is the view. And this building that is now in ruins, not very far from the wall that surrounds the cathedral, is or was the abbey where the nuns lived. And I'm not really certain why it was not actually within the walls of the cathedral, but it wasn't. It was a few yards, a few meters from the actual property. This photo here is coming through the small entrance area and out this side, and then heading around where the gravestones were here. So photos of the inside will be in our next layout. But we do still need some embellishments here. I think I'm going to do a title kind of along the center of this. I'll print it or cut it on my Cricut and do some lettering title in the middle here. It just really lends itself well, I feel like, to putting a title there. And but we still do need something to add a little guidance to our eyes. I pulled out my Enchanted Wizard stickers, mostly because of the castle stickers, right? But I really don't know. I kind of think I'm going to wait and use the castle stickers actually on a different layout down the road. But let's see if there's anything over here. We could use some of these little fingers and one of the little word signs. Actually, let's not do that. Change my mind all the time when it comes to embellishments. They are hard for me. We're going to do Smile down here underneath Emily and Kelly because they look so cute, grinning, and there's so many smiles on this page. So I'm just going to center the eye, make it slightly to the right of center. And then that way I should be able to have the rest of this centered. We'll see. We'll see how good I am. Maybe I should use my tweezers. That might enable me to see better before I actually set it down. Here we go. I have some other, how many of you out there have the blue CM tweezers? I have them, but they take some coordination for me, and I'm not good enough at using them. If I practiced, I know I would be better, but you have to, rather than squeezing together, I don't know, they operate differently. If you have them, then you know. Okay, so we've got that. I think we'll do Happy Smile and a cute shamrock. Happy Smile. Just like that, and that will be our embellishment cluster down here. And then we need, they recommend a little something here, a little something here, a little something here. I've noticed that with the with kind of the new sketches that they're coming out with, they are not as much doing the 3 clusters to a 2-page spread like we used to do. And I don't think it's a horrible thing, but I mean, one could argue that these up here are part of the title, so they are not considered a cluster. But I don't know. I don't think it's made it. I don't think it makes a huge difference when you add an additional cluster, but it all depends on the page. So it might be something that you would choose to do, or it might be something that you might not choose to do. I left, when I added these photos on the right hand side of the page, you'll notice that these two are shifted to the right rather than being centered. I did that on purpose so that I would have room here that I could journal about the page, because you'll notice there's not a lot of journaling space with the papers and the punches that I chose to use. So I adjusted this set of photos up so that I can journal a little bit here about the photos on this page, and I have journal room here and here where I can talk about the castle, or it's not a castle, the cathedral. So just something to keep in mind when you're placing your photos, that it's a good idea to try and leave some space because you want to be able to journal. Okay, so I'm adding this in here at the top, but I still have plenty of room to journal on the pages. So, whew, something's going on in the kitchen. You can tell it's about dinner time. So I need to finish this up so that we can roll out, so to speak. Let's do one more something, and we're going to include this cute little dragonfly. And let's do, I don't want to use the together one and point it at the cemetery. That would be bad. Let's see, where are we going to want to put a third embellishment? If I have a title right here, I'm thinking it needs to either go down here or it needs to go here, or maybe I just don't add another one on this page because there's a lot going on this page. I could put another one kind of up. I don't know where help. Maybe in the middle to balance it a little bit. I don't know. Something small. We'll do something small. Just do a little kind of cluster here. I have another set of stickers here, so let's do a small, I'll do a small one of these. Kind of tuck it up and under. Put it maybe just right here. Maybe I'll just put it right there and kind of make it in conjunction with the end of the title. We'll do like that. All right, I think that's enough for today. Let me know what you think about this layout. I'm going to take a picture and submit it because this is Tuesday, so we still have time to get stuff sent in for the virtual crop. I'm proud of myself. Thanks so much for joining me, ladies. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Enjoy your day.